All right, we're ready.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you to those of you who are listening and who have agreed to serve as mentors in this program. I genuinely appreciate that and admire what you're doing. Yeah, so this it's a little different than I had originally anticipated in the sense that I'll be delivering this orientation from my 13-year-old's bedroom. But at least my wife was good enough to get the kids outside and go on a walk. So yeah, I'll share that about myself. I do have 4 children. I live in Ankeny. So my kids are 18, 13, 11, and 2. And the 2-year-old no longer has in-home childcare, so that's been a little different. So yeah, and yeah. So anyway, they're out of the way, so they shouldn't be making any noise in the background. But if they do happen to show up, I apologize in advance. Yeah. So Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. Nicole Quaid. I work with Volunteer Iowa and the Iowa Mentoring Partnership. So most of my work is focused on working with youth mentoring programs across the state of Iowa. We have about 70 programs that are certified through the Iowa Mentoring Partnership, and we provide technical assistance and resources and training for the staff of all of those youth serving mentoring programs. So I'm also getting to assist with the Future Ready Iowa mentoring program a little bit. So I'm happy to be here, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, so I thought I should share also in advance of accepting and assuming this role, I served as an academic advisor. I was an academic advisor and an academic coach at Iowa State University. So I worked at Iowa State for several years, and I also worked for a few years at the University of Iowa. In my last position there, I was Associate Director for Diversity and Inclusion. I also worked for DMACC, so I've got those three large institutions covered. I worked out of the DMACC Southbridge Center, excuse me, where I was a career coach. I was supporting students who were pursuing their high school equivalency diplomas. So it was a partnership between the United Way of Central Iowa and DMACC called Bridges to Success. And so I've supported students from privileged backgrounds. I've supported an overwhelming number of underrepresented students, students on the margins who are struggling academically, socially, and yeah, that's my background. That's the perspective and the lens that I bring with me to this program. Yeah, and I thought since we have just a small group of mentors, a smaller community engaging in this call today, I was hoping that we could have a quick go around. If you could just share your name and what you do. And when I say what you do, I suppose that means maybe where you're working, So if anyone would like to get started, maybe I could call on how about Mary Ward out there?
Absolutely. So Mary Ward, I've been in the insurance industry my entire life. I worked at Principal Financial Group for 17 years, over mainly in the underwriting department. So I led their group underwriting division for many years. I've worked for Aetna Insurance in sales and account management capacity, had a team of people over a 4-state region, and currently work for Focus One Source, which is a local PEO, a professional employer organization right here in Des Moines. And just a little bit about why I wanted to do this. I've always loved coaching and mentoring, and so I did some certification and training in San Francisco around coaching, and so this gives me a really good opportunity to use those skills.
Nice, thank you. Appreciate that, Mary. How about Patricia? Patricia, you out there? Maybe, maybe not. About Kathleen? Do you want to introduce?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We can. I think we can hear you, Kathleen.
Okay, hi. Yeah, so you can actually call me Katie, Katie Rosito. I am new to Iowa and I am teaching at Buena Vista. I'm a assistant professor in the counseling department, mental health counseling department. I was a counselor prior to teaching full time for the past 12 years and have worked probably with individuals with varying degrees of disabilities and needs since I started working. So being there, helping, supporting, nurturing, mentoring, supervising, that's just kind of in my nature. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. I apologize. All right. So Taylor?
Hi, everybody. So my name is Taylor Woodcock, and I am currently the volunteer coordinator with Ryman Gardens at Iowa State University. I've been there for about 3.5 years, and I've lived in Iowa for only about 4 years now. My background is actually in the museum and nonprofit world. I've worked in a variety of art and historical and cultural museums in different parts of the country. Most recently, I was living in Michigan, in Western Michigan, where I was at a historical museum and wore a bunch of different hats. But I've been working in the volunteer sector for over 8 years now, 8 or 9 years, I believe. And basically, I think almost all of my professional roles, I've worked with either high school and or college students, and I really enjoy that atmosphere and environment and engaging with those students. And I did do a mentoring project in Michigan with, it was actually a grade school student, but I'm excited to help more with college students. So that's me.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else like to go next? Maybe Garrett?
Sure. My name is Garrett Grandberg. I work for a company called Visionary Services out of Des Moines. I have been doing programming for about 25 years, so I've been out and about for quite a little bit. Also, I've done quite a bit of volunteer work. I do quite a bit for Tech Journey here in Des Moines. I teach the game development class for them. I also did the Hyperstream program for the Indianola High School, which is where my kids go. I have 3 daughters, 17, 16, and going on 11. So a lot of excitement at my house. I also teach at DMAC. I'm an adjunct instructor for the web department. I teach an advanced PHP course for them. And then for several years, I also tutored for a website called Wyzant. So I was one of the IT tutors for Central Iowa. So I did a lot of traveling around helping folks out in that area.
Nice. Thanks, Garrett. Anyone else out there?
Yeah, this is Brian Grolke. Yep. Yeah, I'm Brian Grolke, and I'm actually looking at Garrett right now. We both work for Visionary, so we're in Des Moines. I kind of straddle the fence between the software side of things and the business management and project management side of things. So I work a lot with clients to figure out what they need and help get that translated into a custom software product or something like that. I've been at Visionary now for about 11 years, and before that I had a little company that I actually ran out of my house. Yeah, I actually live up in Ankeny, and I have 2 kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter that's really missing out, or really sad, because she thought that she'd be able to start soccer playing for her school for the first time this year as a freshman. and that looks like that's not happening. And then I have a 11-year-old son as well.
Wow. All right. Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Anyone?
I think we got
All right.
Patricia on now.
Patricia, you
Yeah,
ready?
Patricia might be there.
Yes, I'm on. I'm on the phone.
Yeah,
Because
great. Patty, we were just introducing ourselves and telling a little bit about the work that each of us do, if you want to share that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name is Patricia Lounsbury. I go by Patty, and I am a retired nurse from the University of Iowa, and I've been retired for 7 years. I was the program director for the cardiac rehabilitation program at the University of Iowa, and I have 3 grown sons, one of whom is Adam Lounsbury. Maybe you know him. He was the one who got me interested in this project. And gosh, that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you, Patty. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and get started with this presentation now. And Patty, of course, you will have nothing but wonderful things to say about me to your son, of course. Who?
Okay.
Yeah, that's my boss, by the way. You don't know. Yeah.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
All right.
No pressure at
I
all
will
here.
say
Okay.
only wonderful things about you.
On. All right. So our agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about the goals of the program and run through the matching algorithm and timeline phases. Nicole will discuss phases of the mentoring relationship. I'll review the mentoring handbook. Not that you haven't done that already on your own, but in the event that you haven't, we'll do so together. We'll run through that quickly. We'll go into Cronus, just take a look at that from a mentor's perspective, and then briefly discuss management and what you need to do to prepare for your first meeting, and we'll end with questions. So the goals, and for those of you who don't know, this was born out of the governor's Future Ready Iowa initiative, ensuring that 70% of the workforce has education or training beyond high school by 2025. First and foremost, connecting students pursuing high demand fields, degrees, and credentials in high demand job fields with career mentors. I say ideally in their field of study because it's not feasible that we connect every single student with someone in their exact field, not at this point, especially. I'd say in light of the recent developments, coronavirus, it's impacted our ability to recruit and retain mentors working in healthcare in those fields. I think that's had something to do with it. In addition to, many other circumstances, but we're going to do our best. We'll connect students with mentors based on the algorithm that we'll share shortly. So guiding students in developing and executing college to career goals, that's really what this is all about, helping them feel more confident in their ability to secure job placement and in their career, which again, we'll talk more about strategies for doing so shortly. Helping students meet scholarship and grant requirements. We want them to matriculate, we want them to graduate. Again, they could be facing additional challenges on that front right now. Maybe some of them aren't as accustomed to online learning as others. So something we need to keep in consideration here. Increase work-related learning opportunities and job placement. Now, whether that's internships, externships, job shadows, we want to connect them professionally. It could be seminars. You could use your imagination. There's some suggestions in the guide. assist students in establishing career-related connections to prepare them in advance the labor market. Okay, that's an obvious one. So let's move on to the algorithm itself. So career field holds the greatest weight. So in terms of matching mentors and mentees, we've got career field and beneath that job title. So they have the opportunity, each mentee does, to list what would be your preferred job title. Some students, they've got multiple job titles there. Some have unsure. So really, career field holds the greatest weight, and beneath that would be barriers. So you as mentors, you may recall checking that as well. So you indicate whether or not you faced challenges financially, personally. Did you have family support? Did you have barriers involving health? Whether it's mental health, substance abuse issues, all that. Barriers are a factor. Location is another. It's less significant, location and gender, but they do influence the matching. So, for example, if a student and a mentor had a 90% match, and they were on opposite sides of the state, and then they had like a 75% match with a potential mentor who's in the same city or maybe a half an hour away, that would come to our attention, and then I could use that ultimately to decide which would be a better fit, because I'll have the suggestions for each student. Location can factor in and increase the odds of being connected. So gender, if they've indicated a preference, if a female student said she's only comfortable having a female mentor, then that will influence the matching algorithm as well. So hopefully that all makes sense. Timeline, we're looking at first matches tomorrow. So some point tomorrow, you may well receive a message letting you know that you've been matched with a student. Another round of matching will occur on the 22nd. Okay. All right, Nicole.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the phases of a mentoring relationship. The first one is to initiate the relationship. We really view this as one of the most critical phases in the timeline of a mentoring relationship, because this is where you are building trust and rapport with the student or your mentee. So if you think about natural mentoring relationships that happen outside of a formal mentoring program, so we might call them informal mentoring or natural mentors that happen organically, the getting to know each other and the trust and the rapport are usually have already happened. So when you are mentoring in a formal mentoring program, you really have to be intentional about getting to know the student and mentee and building a rapport with them. So everything, all of the goals that your mentee is going to be working towards, everything builds off having a strong relationship to begin with. So Jason's going to talk about some of the things in an e-mentoring platform where it's not necessarily in person, how you can go about communicating and building that relationship. But some things to think about in this initiate phase is as you're establishing your communication with your mentee, you want to be predictable, you want to be consistent, and you want to think about confidentiality as well. So all of those things will help you build trust and rapport with your student. Definitely showing an interest in getting to know about them and about them academically and personally will help create a strong foundation. So that's the first phase, is initiating the relationship. And then you will transition into Cultivate. So this one is all about establishing and developing goals for your student. So they are probably coming into this with some goals in mind. They're going to be setting some short-term and long-term goals. So the short-term ones that are achievable are really helpful in building confidence and momentum, so that when you can check things off and set some goals and reach them, that gives you more confidence and motivation for some of those longer sustained goals as well. One thing that we're really stressing with the mentees, and that's good for you to know as well, is that all of these goals and the plan of action, they can all be refined and changed along the way. So nothing is set in stone in terms of the goals that they will be setting. So the next phase is to grow. So this is a phase that you really want to make sure that the momentum and focus is being sustained and there's not kind of a lull in that initial goal setting and achievements that is taking place. So part of the mentor role is to provide feedback and encouragement to the mentee. And in order to provide authentic feedback and sometimes you know, helping them see areas where they may need to grow or to stretch themselves, that will all be a lot easier if you have that strong foundation of a relationship. So it's easier to receive constructive feedback from someone if you trust that person and you have a relationship established. So the next phase is to wrap up, or you can think about it as closure. So the timing for all of the relationships will be different based on the matches themselves and the students' graduation dates. So closure, when we talk about closure in this program, we are talking about the formal mentoring relationship through Future Ready Iowa. So for all the matches, it might look different about how and if the relationship continues after the formal end, so that you could possibly be friends or colleagues or you know, have them in your network. So all of that can look different, but we definitely want to bring closure to the formal mentoring relationship. That gives a chance for people to acknowledge that there is a transition and to be able to reflect on the change and the progress that has been accomplished. So prior to that wrap up or closure, there will be a final review of goals in the system to complete, and can kind of think about it as an evaluation as far as letting us as a program know, you know, what is effective and what are the successes, and if there's any places that we can make changes or adjust things. So that is the fourth and final phase of the formal mentoring relationship.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Let's see, so I'm going to go to the mentor handbook now. Nicole, is it showing up all right? We have a mentor handbook up.
Yep, I can see it now.
I know, so I apologize if there's a delay oftentimes here between what's on my screen and what you can see. So yeah, I'm just going to run through this. As I mentioned earlier, Nicole talked about the importance of you know, building trust and rapport. What I wanted to stress is the importance of authenticity, of being authentic, which in my experience, and I'm sure your own, it helps students let their guard down. So I've had a lot of experience, as some of you have also, with working with vulnerable students who a lot of times may not trust you enough to share, you know, to be vulnerable. But that's what we hope for, right? The better we know our students, the better we can guide them. So authenticity on your part, modeling that behavior, I think is critical. So, when you're building that relationship, be vulnerable, use your sense of humor, just, do what you can to let them know that you're non-judgmental, and that, ultimately your goal, is for them to feel safe to share, what they want to share, and to know that they're not going to be judged, and to know that it stays between you, that it's confidential. So authenticity, open-mindedness, really important. It's something I share with a lot of individuals who are interested in participating, engaging as mentors. Maybe they're on the fence about it. Sometimes they think about it as, oh, I'm going to be mentoring just a 19 or 20-year-old student, when that's not necessarily the case. We've got students who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. You could be mentoring someone who's in their 50s with prior work experience. Maybe they're looking for career change. For whatever reason, this is a moment in which they decided that they're going to upskill, they're going to, get this credential that they need in order to make that change. So they're bringing a lot with them. That's something I especially learned when I went from advising a lot of students, say, from privileged backgrounds at the University of Iowa, about half of which came from Illinois. You're working with that population, and then you're working with a group who's coming fresh, fresh out of prison, or maybe they're still incarcerated. They're currently incarcerated and they're pursuing their high school equivalency diploma. I learned a lot from that experience, and I really had to check my assumptions. So I just wanted to mention that briefly. The expectations, you'll work on a mentoring partnership agreement. This is an understanding that you reach an agreement between you and the student. I just want you to keep in mind that that can change. Your mentoring partnership agreement and arrangements you make in terms of this is how often we're going to communicate and how long the relationship will endure. That's as fluid as the curriculum itself. So there will be, as we move along, I'll be adding new tasks, and you'll receive announcements regarding new, projects for the two of you to work on. This, like the mentoring partnership agreement, can change at any point. So just thought I should bring that to your attention. Communication tips. Nicole mentioned the fact, hey, this is e-mentoring. This is a little different than being in person. Some of you may have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. Others may not. I would encourage each of you to, whether you use it primarily or not, to use the mobile application. There is a mobile application for Cronus. I've been using it and it works well. The format, it's just, it's set up well. I'm sure Garrett, Brian, you guys probably know a lot about this kind of stuff, but whatever they did it right. So it's very user-friendly, it's intuitive. So there is a mobile app, but also whether you're in the mobile app, whether you're using it on your laptop, whatever, keep in mind that you can't always express yourself in writing the way you can when you're using body language and communicating in person. So if you can, for one, schedule meetings through Skype, or it could be Google Hangouts, could be any of those platforms that you use to communicate with your colleagues at work. I know my family and I, we actually have family meetings, with my family in Wisconsin, and my family, here on Iowa, my mom down in Mississippi. We communicate through, we try different platforms, right? So you can do that with your students, but when you're messaging through the platform, I have some tips on here. One I'd like to draw attention to is, get creative. Utilize emojis to communicate mood, tone, or emphasis. So just like, as if you're texting someone, share, links, images, media, just, try and make sure they're appropriate. So, yeah, that's it there. Let's see. Goal development, networking tips. Let's go down here. Suggested activities. So in light, again, of recent developments, it's not an ideal time. It's not feasible to be touring campus, but I have this on here because I do want to encourage that kind of activity as well. So I don't just view this as, mentees just, are invited into the mentors world. I think, that you can merge, your worlds, so to speak. Mentors can attend student presentations, or maybe there's some form of engagement that they have on campus that you could be a part of. Some of these relationships, they can endure through obviously the end of this academic term, which is in about a month and a half. They could endure through 2021, the 2021 academic year. So there's a lot of opportunity to get to know the student and their campus, and kind of immerse yourself in their experience as well. But in terms of what you can do, I do have some ideas on here. Job shadowing, I mentioned earlier, externships, internships. Even if it's not an internship with your organization necessarily, you can definitely help connect them. You can be the link. If there are any work-related seminars, workshops, conferences, if you think it would be beneficial for them to engage and participate in those, and by all means, send an invitation. So I think that's that's something that going forward for students, I think that they benefit from as many of those professional learning opportunities as possible. So also on here, I've got reminders for effective mentoring and closure. We will facilitate closure. So I will, within your mentoring connection plan, you'll see that here shortly. I'll show you. But yeah, there's a survey. Feedback, feed forward is always welcome. So consistently, as we move through this process, as much of that as you can provide would be great. I mean, this is our inaugural, class, if you will, of mentors and mentees. So we could definitely benefit from that. So let's see. Just going to quickly go into the platform. All right, Nicole, are we in Cronus? Can we see the Kenny Raymer connection?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so, okay, so this is, this is what you'll see when you're in the platform. This is a mentor. Well, Ashley's actually both a mentor and a student in the platform, but I just wanted you to see what she can see here. So, right away, she's got some goals, some surveys that she needs to complete. The system is smart enough so that if you go in to try and check your box to say, okay, my mentee and I have completed this 30-day check-in survey, it's not going to allow you to until you actually do the survey. So you have to get in there and complete that. But you've got help resources here, community pages. You could actually share articles. Obviously, you can share those at any time with your mentor or your mentee. If you want to schedule a meeting, you can click on new meeting, add a new meeting, and then it should pop up here in a second where you'll be able to choose your actual topic, write a description of the meeting, pick a date. I think it's all very intuitive. Schedule a time, meet in person. You can pick a location. We don't discourage meeting in person. You can absolutely do that. Phone. Now, other would be, if there's, like I said, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Skype, Google Hangouts, whatever you prefer, you can establish that with your mentee. We just ask that anytime you meet, that you document the meeting. There's also a journal feature. There's a journal feature built in, so you could actually journal about your experience as well. I can't see that right now because I'm not truly a mentor at this point, but you'll have a journal feature. So that's where you go to schedule new meetings, new messages, if you want to reach out and send a message to your connection. Help and support here on the left. Got resources, contact administrator, that'll go straight to myself as well as other administrators. There are, I believe, 4 of us. I think I've recruited 3 additional administrators to help out with the program. So yeah, just want to know that's all out there. You could click on view all as just another way to view your connection. You can see milestones and goals on there. They don't have a whole lot because they were just entertaining me and helping me out for purposes of orientation. But when you click on that, you'll see getting started. So that's anytime you finish something, you can just check the box. You'll have a list of goals and tasks underneath each one of these: working toward goals, getting started, wrapping up the relationship. These dates right now that you see here, these are just arbitrary. Every relationship will be different. It'll be set up so that the mentoring relationship looks like it's going to last through 2021. Again, it differs based upon each unique relationship, but I just wanted to see what this looks like. So all right, and anytime you have any questions, again, contact administrator. So I'm going to go back into the PowerPoint now. All right. Nicole, are we good? Are we on the introduction to Cronus slide?
Yes, we're good.
All right, fantastic. All right, getting close here, getting close to wrapping up. All right, so what I want to emphasize is that photo, if you could share a photo, that would be great. Now, Ashley, for her photo, had Princess Leia. I want to encourage you to, upload a photo of yourself, an accurate, representation of yourself. It could be your current or your former self. So yeah, just if you could do that, I think that's important. If you can't figure out how to upload a photo, please just let me know. Send me. You could send me a photo. I'd gladly put a photo in there for you. The Skype ID is optional. That's just built right into the system there. If you want to include a Skype ID, then it'll get you to like 100% profile completion. Not necessary. Determine with your mentee what's best for you, whatever communications platform you'd like to use. So yeah, mentoring partnership agreement, we reviewed that, and the connection plan. And again, I encourage you to download the app. And it should automatically sync with your calendar. The Cronus should. Okay, so
Jason, can you tell us the name of the app if you're looking for it on your iPhone or Android?
That's a good question. Let's see. It's been a minute since I actually loaded it. Well, I've got an Android for one, so I don't know if that matters. Where is it? Cronus. Cronus Mobile Mentoring. This is yeah, just, you know,
Great.
like it's there in the little icon down there on the left, Cronus Mobile Mentoring.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, great question. Okay. So risk management here. So it's something I definitely have to discuss briefly. I know some of this is common sense, but there will be a more comprehensive policy included in help resources. But just to quickly review, confidentiality is important. And like I said, you do an excellent job of building a relationship with these students. If you're authentic and they don't feel judged and they don't, they're going to share things. So you'll uncover challenges and barriers that they haven't shared immediately. And we just want to assure the students that this is kept between yourselves. And we've discussed this with students as well, so it works both ways. So confidentiality is critical. Now, adhere to best practices regarding meeting spaces. You know, at first we encourage, you know, if you're going to meet in person, just do so in public spaces. But more than anything, just make sure the meetings are documented so we know, you know, where meetings take place, and safety above all else. Just make sure that both you and the student are safe, you're comfortable, and it, you know, I know it goes without saying, but don't engage in any illegal acts. Exercise common sense, courtesy, and caution. So whether it's environment, whether it's the relationship itself, how you're interacting with your mentoring partner, media use, you know, what you're sharing, just common sense, courtesy, and caution, please. If at any point you don't feel comfortable or safe with your mentee, or for that matter, you're concerned for their safety, just please let me know. Alert the program manager. And if for any reason a mentoring relationship, if we need to wrap it up and you know, bring closure to the relationship, we can facilitate that with as little awkwardness as possible. And believe me when I say that we will have other students waiting. We have students waiting for mentors right now. I mean, over 30 of them. So really, we'll always have students in need. So let's go on to this next slide. All right, so preparing for your first meeting, review and update your profile. So as I mentioned before, if you can get a photo uploaded, if you can't, let me know and I'll help you out with that. So a profile photo, just review the information you've included on your profile, because the individual you're matched with will be, you know, reviewing it. They'll look at that. That's your first impression, and I think it's an important one. I've encouraged students to do the same. So hopefully by the time you're matched, everyone's got that, you know, that completed. But you know, it's not a guarantee. But yeah, I am encouraging that, and prepare to share stories of surviving and thriving. So yeah, we don't always necessarily want to paint ourselves in the best light. Let's be honest. We all make mistakes. We're imperfect. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that's vulnerable. It's important to be vulnerable. And it helps with establishing that trust. Another thing I'll say, I don't know that I mentioned this earlier, but students may disclose things to you. You're not sure what to do with those things. Feel free to reach out if you're unsure how to respond. But I think a number of you understand that there are referrals that you can make. Sometimes things just happen in passing. So you know, I was meeting with a student, for example, and just sharing with him a story about you know, when I was living out of my car in Seattle. You know, I dropped out of college as an undergrad, and you know, and I hit the road, and then basically my car broke down, and I just decided to live out of it, you know. And I did that for a period of time while I was, you know, finding jobs and all that. And I was young enough, and you know, it was fine. You know, I did okay. You know, but it was challenging in some respects to be homeless and not to know anyone in a new place. I'm from Wisconsin, you know, so I was out there in Seattle on my own. And as I was sharing this, you know, I wasn't thinking too much of it, but you know, as it turned out, he was living out of an RV in a Sam's Club parking lot. And things were really hard for him, and especially in the winter. So I don't know, like and we'd known one another for a little while before he disclosed this, but you know, eventually, you know, he just said, I'm homeless, man. Like this is my situation right now. And you know, I had to make some referrals, and we got creative. You know, I was able to find temporary housing for him, and eventually, you know, get him on his feet. But it's not something he was advertising, and I you know, he's a little embarrassed about it, to be honest. So this is, you know, these things can happen. We don't know what the students are facing. You know, you don't know exactly what you're getting into, and I know a number of you have stories like that. But I just wanted to make sure and mention that if you don't know, refer.
Jason, we had a question in the chat box about wondering how many students the mentors will be assigned.
That's a great question. Right now, 1. If you are willing to mentor more than 1 student, by all means, let me know. Like I said, we've got students awaiting mentors. Now, the majority of them are pursuing degrees in healthcare fields. You know, a lot of students pursuing degrees in nursing who are waiting for mentors. And really, I don't want to burden anyone, but if it's something you're interested in, if you want to take on more, like say you get a student tomorrow, and then maybe you want to you know, add another student to your load in a couple of weeks or further on down the road, yeah, just let us know. We will gladly do that. We appreciate it. Yeah. And yeah, so great question, and open to it, but just 1 right now. You know, thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone? I don't know if anyone's posted anything in the chat here.
That was the only question in the chat so far, but please do feel free to unmute yourself at this time if you have any questions, or if you have any thoughts, or if you had any mentoring experience, either informally, naturally, or in a formal mentoring program that you want to share about. Now is a great time.
Oh, and thanks, Brian. I see that you shared more about Cronus, a link to the app store for Cronus mentoring. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the Android one. I'm sure it's out there for Apple phones too.
So we just go to the App Store and get it that way if we have a Mac or an iPhone?
Yeah, I found it on my iPhone. It's actually just called Cronus Mobile.
Okay.
It doesn't have the mentoring in there.
And then do we get a copy of this presentation?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, this will be. Go ahead, Nicole.
Sorry. Yeah, we will share this recording, and then Jason, will we be able to share the slides as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Just one other thought. There is a lot of research that shows that the best way to recruit mentors is through word of mouth. So, you know, we can spend money on advertising and social media and all of that, but really what's most effective, and especially in the Midwest, is hearing from other mentors about their positive experiences. So I realize that's a little premature for us as you have not even been matched yet, but just going forward, just keeping in mind that if you are having a positive experience, you know, if you're able to share with other people, friends, neighbors, family, colleagues, that's extremely helpful. I think that we're anticipating this coming fall that we're going to have a large amount of students that are requesting mentors. So that's just something to think about.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. That's absolutely. Yeah, we're looking at possibly this time around. It's been an opt-in program. So students just recently learned about it, and they can opt in if they'd like support from a professional in the workforce. But in the fall, we're looking at going opt out. And just for scale, there are currently over 6,000 last dollar scholarship recipients. So that would be a lot of students and a lot of mentors in the program. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but regardless, yeah, we're in need of mentors and would be very grateful for your reference and for you to help promote this program in any way you could. I guess with that, thank you for listening. Thank you for your engagement. You'll be hearing from us shortly. Keep doing good work.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.